Well, how's it going, friends and family? My name is Amos, and I hope you had a good 4th of July Freedom Weekend. And in today's video, man, it's been a while since we did one of these, right, in this format and modality. But anyways, in the first half, we'll be going over my Japan experience. And in the second half, we'll be talking about stocks and the market in general. So to bring you up to speed, in case you didn't know, I'm an American that lived in Japan for a little under 4 years, and I just came back to the States with my young family. So a wife, young little baby, and then 2 dogs. Speaking of which, the logistics, nothing went according to plan. I kid you not, it was setback after setback, and I gotta be honest, I kept thinking, man, this is truly a test of my virtues and an opportunity for me to practice on what kind of dad I want to be. Because I think when I was a bachelor, man, I had a really difficult time regulating my emotions, right? Like when I was pissed off, dude, I would show it, right? It would manifest in my physical actions, and like you would see steam coming out of my butthole. But now that I have a young one that looks up to me, I always have to be thoughtful and be like, what kind of lesson do I want to be teaching her right now, right? When things are not going according to plan, should I be the type of person that flips tables and acts a fool of himself? Or do I show her like, hey, it's okay. Things are going to be all right. This is what we're going to do instead. We have a contingency plan. There's plan B, plan C. Stay calm, collected, and just go through the motions, right? Right now, she's still a little potato. And that's why I'm saying I get practice and repetitions. That way, when she gets a little bit older and cognizant of what's going on, I don't make a severe mistake. Because one thing that I've learned is it doesn't matter if you have a track record of doing the right thing day after day, week after week. As a man, by the way, one moment of your emotions taking over and you doing something that's out of character, that's all it takes for your entire track record to go out the window and for you to be labeled as a bad dad or as a bad husband. That's something that I've learned over the years, especially when counseling couples. In my prior life as a pastor, a lot of people, they tend to forget about the good times and they really zero in on the times that you slipped up or when you treated them in a manner that wasn't usual. So how can we reduce or eliminate those slip-ups altogether, right? So that's the name of the game for me. And by the way, the B-roll or the footage that you see on your screen right now, it'll be some videos that I filmed while living in Japan. And you'll notice that I used to have a mullet, embarrassingly enough, but I think it looked kind of good, but I don't know. So anyways, we have 2 poodles. One, she's a toy poodle. She's healthy all the time. And dude, she's so freaking cute, okay? And the other one, all right, he's just as cute, but he has this thing where when something sets him off, he tends to get sick easily. So packing up and moving, it stressed him out pretty badly, right? To the point where he started pissing blood. And whenever your dog pisses blood, that's pretty much a medical emergency, right? So we had to postpone our travel plans, get him situated, checked out at the vet, medicated, and then once he was stable enough, yeah. But I get it though. Dogs, just like humans, they thrive on routine and schedule, doing the same thing day after day. I mean, it might seem like a mundane or boring life, but that predictability is what allows the dog to anticipate, like, oh my gosh, now it's time to go outside and relieve myself. Or now it's time for me to get a treat, or it's time to play. Like, once it's baked in, it's what they expect. But in the weeks leading up to the movers bagging everything up, I think he got really scared and anxious because our home started to get more and more empty by the day. And even me, I was like, dude, this is weird, because this is where we called home for the entirety, well, almost the entirety of the pandemic, and now we're saying goodbye. But anyways, after he healed up, we were all good to go, and I decided this is really stupid of me, but I think it makes sense. I was like, hey, if we're not coming back to Japan for a very long time, I mean, after you live in a certain country for long enough, you pretty much experience everything, right? You don't really have to go back for a while, or at least that's how my brain is set up. So I was like, since we're not going to be coming back for a while, I might as well eat as much Japanese food as possible, especially the stuff that I'm going to miss, like the sashimi, the ramen, the udon, the tonkatsus, stuff like that, because in America, it pales in comparison. I don't want to be rude, but it's just not the same. And lo and behold, that was a piss-poor decision on my part, because this is really embarrassing to say. I ended up getting food poisoning for the first time in 6 years, and I'm pretty sure it was because of sushi. To the point where I was out of commission for a few days, and I lost 14.5 pounds. And because of me, we had to delay our travel plans again. So you could see, right, this entire situation, it was a debacle and a mess. So stupid of me. And I mean, they advertise that risk everywhere, right? If you're going to eat raw fish, you're playing with fire, because you can absolutely get sick. Especially if you're pregnant, like I was. I'm just kidding, I wasn't pregnant. It was a gamble, and I lost. To the point where I don't think I could eat sushi. Like, you could grab a platter of salmon, tempura shrimp, whatever it is, California roll, put it in front of my face after starving for 48 hours, and I don't think I could eat sushi. Especially because I know it caused me to be, puking my brains out. It was a pretty nasty thing. But anyways, fast forward to flying with a newborn on 4 different flights, because the connecting flights and everything. And gosh, how do I say this? I'm trying to keep it kosher. I would not recommend it to anyone to fly for that long, for that many days in a row with a newborn. Because if you think about it, a 15-hour flight, it's hard enough as it is, right? Your back feels a little sore. The recycled air makes your nostrils dry. The guy next to you is farting up a storm. He's hogging the armrest. You start getting, claustrophobic and everything. But when you throw a crying baby into the mix, brother, let me tell you, it gets pretty rough. That said, between you and me, I'm pretty proud of myself for not getting angry or losing my temper, because it was stressful, right? Because I didn't want the people sitting around us to be annoyed by us, but I mean, you can't help it, right? If a baby wants to cry, baby's gonna cry, and then you have to soothe them. So I tried to stay calm despite everything that went down. And again, I'd be lying if I said I didn't cuss up a storm in my head a few times, especially when the onset of the food poisoning happens, right? All of that vomiting and whatnot, it was... My apologies if I keep talking about vulgar and graphic stuff like vomiting. But anyways, fast forward to landing at LAX, which is the Los Angeles International Airport. I'll say this right now, this might be an unpopular opinion, so much more efficient and timely than Japan, by the way. The Japanese airports, oh my gosh, it drives me up a wall. They could take a lesson or two on how to process people faster. I am not joking. Every time I fly out of a freaking Japanese airport, I feel like my hairline recedes a bit at how slow everything is, and super rude. Yeah, I know the stereotype is that American TSA and staff at the airport, not so friendly, but dude, the Japanese staff at an airport, oh my gosh. But anyways, once we were back in the US, we had a bunch of big ticket purchases to make in order to get settled in, right? I mean, because we were living abroad for quite a bit, like securing a minivan, getting my wife a new phone, because she was rocking the same one for quite a while, and he no longer got any updates or security updates. So I was like, all right, let's get you a new one. And of course, changing out my workstation. Because fun fact, this is what I do full time. I'm a YouTuber. I mean, obviously I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I try to crank out videos whenever I can, but yeah, the fact remains, right? And the thing is, I've been needing to replace my laptop for the past 2 years. It's been huffing and puffing, because I'm not just a casual user that just watches videos or checks up on emails or browse on social media. No, I push it pedal to the metal, 100 miles per hour every single day, filming, streaming, editing, and that really does damage to the computer, right? Just like a car. So if my laptop were a car, it's probably closer to 400, 500,000 miles on the odometer for accuracy's sakes. But I kept trying to squeeze more life out of it until we got back to the U.S. Because I was like, you know what? Why buy it here when we can buy it in the U.S., right? Where I can stack my military discount, get a little bit of, I don't know, it's like 10 or 5% off. Japan, there's no such thing. In hindsight, let me tell you right now, that was absolutely a terrible decision. Because as of 2026, the SSD and the RAM shortages, dude, electronics across the board for phones, computers, tablets, everything went up. If you don't believe me, go on Amazon, go on Best Buy, Microsoft, whatever, look it up. The prices went up 20, 30, 40%. So, and I was like, dude, that's ridiculous. Because the same way that I buy stocks is the same way that I buy big purchase items, right? I don't just like to pay full retail. I like to get a good deal, if you know what I'm saying. So I started thinking outside the box, and I didn't want to, but I turned to Facebook Marketplace, eBay, and Craigslist to find a MacBook. And after browsing for like 5 days or whatever, I ended up meeting with someone, off of Facebook, by the way, who was, no joke, about 6'7". Okay, so that's like, I don't know, 199 centimeters tall. And probably 350 pounds. He literally looked like an NFL lineman, an offensive tackle. And when I tell you, when he shook my hands, dude, he had the hands of a black bear, just gigantic, a grizzly bear. He could have easily kidnapped me, knocked me out and put my organs up on the black market. But thankfully he didn't. And I walked away with my new YouTube workstation, a MacBook. It's crazy because I've been using a Windows PC for the longest time. And yeah, it's kind of good to change things up. And the funny thing is, he ended up getting this MacBook that's in my hands right now as I'm making this video as a Christmas gift. And he used it, no joke, maybe like 5 times because I checked out the battery health. It's at 100%. Cycle count is at 6. So his story checks out, and he could not stand the Apple ecosystem. And it's just one of those things where you either love it or you hate it. And I get it, right? I think Windows has its perks, but I think the Mac OS is solid as well. And at the end of the day, I know some of you listening to this, you might be like, dude, you're an idiot. Why would you ever buy a used computer? What if he has spyware installed on it? You don't know what he did with it. He might have put the computer on his butt cheeks, rip out some fudge bubbles, or did some nasty stuff on the keyboard. Like, I get it, okay? But in this economy, buying new, it doesn't make any sense. Because to get a MacBook, let alone a MacBook Pro, it's like $1,500, and that's after accounting for military discount. So getting it used, private party transaction, it was a better deal. But anyways, it brings me to my next point. Man, I don't know if I have said it recently, but I have to say it right now. I really do appreciate you. Yes, you. Even though you always leave hate comments, even though you click thumbs down on the videos, jokes aside, because of your support, I've been saving the money from YouTube and Patreon to make purchases like this possible. No joke, I feel like the move was stressful enough, but financially I've been using the money that I saved up from the YouTube endeavors. And it just reminds me, like, man, I love you guys. If I ever come across as ungrateful, I sincerely apologize. Because deep down inside, I know without y'all's support, all of your comments, helping out on the Patreon, none of this would be possible. I'm not delusional, okay? Because of you guys, I have a platform. And the minivan, obviously that cost 10 times more than the MacBook. Now that one, it was a direct result of buying the health insurance stocks when they dipped about a year ago. You guys remember back in like June or July, I went balls deep into United Health, Humana, and Centene. You fast forward to today, my goodness. I mean, I kind of regret selling out of it at like 360, 370 for United Health. Had I been a little more patient, it would have been like 410, 420. But I had to, right? I had to buy the car. So sometimes buying and holding and doing nothing, it makes sense. But in my case, it makes sense as well, right? I needed the cash to buy it. So thank God for you guys, and thank goodness for investing in stocks. But anyways, so that's the traveling. And yes, I'm back in the US. And if you are from Europe, Asia, Africa, or whatever, you probably have no idea where I live. Once again, just like in Japan, I lived in a very rural farming community here in the US. Unfortunately, okay, and I say that because I'm trying to count my blessings, but I'm in the deep South. And I'm not saying that like, oh yeah, I'm in Arkansas. No, I mean like the deep South. I'm talking about Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, that territory. It's hot, it's humid, there's not much to do. But then again, living in a very rural area for the past 4 years, I think I'm kind of used to that. Not much to do. So you think outside of the box. Streaming services like YouTube and Netflix, Clutch, because literally there's nothing else to do. But anyways, talking about Japan and reflecting on it, I feel like one thing, because I was thinking about it, right? When I was pooping the other day on the toilet, I was like, you know what? I think one thing that I really appreciate about their culture over in Japan is the workforce. Not so much for the office salarymen, because I know they'll fundamentally disagree with me, but I mean in general, the workforce, the ones that are not salaried at a corporate job. Their culture, even at a minimum wage job, dude, let me tell you this right now, they take it seriously. They give 110% effort, and they go above and beyond. Obviously, there are some rotten tomatoes and lemons, but that's the same with any diaspora or community or culture, okay? Of course, there's some mean folks, but for the most part, my encounters, honestly, it was really refreshing to see. Because I'll tell you this right now, as a guy that likes to eat fast food, which cognitive dissonance, because I have a six-pack, I'm pretty ripped. I don't think I've ever shown my body on the screen. I don't know why I have to. I work out every single day. I'm ripped. And funny enough, I eat fast food almost every day. Okay? It just goes to show, like, if you want to eat what you want, you gotta put in the sweat equity. And also have a fast metabolism by running a lot. Having said that, here in the US with fast food, sometimes you get less than ideal treatment from the employees, right? I mean, I remember one time, man, we were in the middle of nowhere and we were getting McDonald's because we were on the road, and the cashier was just so rude, like so much sass, that she made my wife cry. And I kept thinking like, man, what a jerk off, right? Japan, dude, we've never experienced that. I mean, obviously we did face a little bit of racism. The moment they find out we're not Japanese and we're American, they turned us away. And some business establishments, they straight up put a sign on the door where it says like, foreigners are not welcome. You can literally vote with your wallet, go somewhere else, right? And I was like, dude, we're never coming back here. So yeah, just goes to show, right? No country is perfect. There's racists in every country. And but here in the US, when we talk about like the minimum wage workers, I feel like for the most part, I mean, this could be wrong, but as a generalization, as an American, I feel like most don't care about their job. They don't care about doing it the right way, the little things. And customer service, absolutely not. Then again, you got to think about human psychology. Maybe the minimum wage workers, they turn that way because of the way Karens treat them day in and day out. I feel like I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Even when they get my order wrong, mix up, I just say whatever. Because I don't want someone to sprinkle pubes in my food or whatever. Like, they take it back to the kitchen, they spit in it. So I just suck it up, and I still tip, and I just go about my day. I know there's some people where if something goes wrong, I've seen it myself, dude. Like, the first day we landed back in the US, I literally saw a Karen screaming and shouting at someone because they mixed up their order. And I was like, dang, man, that's pretty wild. Like, you don't got to do all of that, right? Like, the person that you're interacting with is still a human. You don't need to be screaming and cussing at them. So, I don't know. I think it's a two-way street. Because in Japan, like, even when things are messed up, I feel like most of them have the mentality that I have, where it's like, I asked for the beef, but I got the pork. I'll just eat it. Unless, of course, you have some kind of religious thing where you're allergic. Then, of course, you could speak up and be like, hey, I think I got the beef. I was hoping for the pork. Something like that, right? So I think it's a mindset thing. And that's one thing that I appreciate about Japan. And something else that I really appreciated about living in Japan was the lack of crime. And as I alluded to earlier, maybe it's because I lived in a rural area surrounded by farms. I'm not joking when I say that. Literally, my next door neighbor, they grew garlic, and down the road they grew potatoes, and it's kind of weird. Because I've always been a city guy. Like, I think living in a rural farming community taught me that when it's time to plant the roots to settle down, the wife and I agreed we cannot live in a rural community. We just cannot. We're both city, urban type of folks. But I digress. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Japan, incredibly safe. Now, maybe that wouldn't be the same if I lived in Osaka or Tokyo. But, living in a tiny-ass town where the general population, everyone was pretty old, there were a lot of migrants, though, to help out with the farm work, but pretty darn safe. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, here in the United States, I guess it goes into that definition. There's no such thing as a perfect country, perfect community. I always have to remind my wife to lock the doors. Right now, we're staying in an Airbnb, and it's where I'm going to stay for the next 5 months. Speaking of which, upstairs, the air conditioning works. I decided to use the downstairs as the office. The AC is broken. I am sweating up a storm as I am recording and filming this right now. We reached out to the Airbnb owner. Hopefully it can get fixed. Because here in the US right now, there's a heat wave where it's hot as a pickle. You wouldn't imagine. I'm literally in a sauna right now. So maybe I'm thinking about it as a glass half full mentality. As I'm sweating, it allows the toxins from my body to leave. At the exact same time, I get to upload a video. So it's like a win-win, right? And anyways, I always remind her to lock the car because the reality is different. In the US, if there's an opportunity, someone will do something bad, right? So, yeah. Then again, it's not all rainbows and sunshines with Japan. In fact, I think I talked about it a few times on the channel. I have a whole laundry list of issues that I had with Japan and living in Japan. That's why I truly do not want to go back to Japan. I would be okay for the rest of my life if I never have to go back. Then again, maybe that's a little too harsh. Now that I'm back in the US, I feel like a majority of the issues that I had, it was more of a me issue than a Japan issue. However, I operate on the idea of ask and you shall receive. So if you're curious, I guess I can air it out in another video because I feel like most of you really don't care. Okay, now having said all of that, a lot has happened in the past, 4 to 5 weeks. Now let's go ahead and talk about some stocks. Thank goodness.
Stocks that compound and dividends, please. Welcome to investing with a side of cheese, where balance sheets matter and cash flows get fatter. But hey, I'm not a financial advisor.
All right, first and foremost, this past week, Nike reported earnings, and it was so-so. I mean, after they reported earnings, I guess you could say they're up 7.8%, which is a good thing because if you take a look at year to date, dude, it's been a free-falling knife. They went from $66 down to, what was their low? They reached $40 a share. And the crazy thing is, if I zoom back 5 years, negative 72%. In 2022, they were flirting with $185 a share. So if you bought Nike at $185 a share and you follow the philosophy of buy and hold, do nothing, you're probably very angry. But anyways, let's talk about how their earnings went. Their bottom line, meaning their profits, it looks better than expected because if I go on to the P&L, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right now, it's on an annualized basis. Tap on quarterly. Revenue decreased, 1.1%. Scroll down, and their net income, the growth was 406%, which is absolutely bonkers, and that's because of the one-time tariff refunds. So I think a lot of the retail, manufacturing, companies like Procter & Gamble, Colgate, Palmolive, I think they're all going to experience the same thing because I think they all applied for the tariff refunds, even though the current administration said do not apply for those refunds. So Nike, you get to kind of see what the ramification is. And so that's why I say it was so-so, because I think the numbers on paper, it looks good, but once you kind of read between the lines, you understand that it wasn't because of business strength or performance or their operations, it's because they got a refund. But then again, it's a good thing, right? Because they paid into the whole tariff debacle for the past year or so. Gosh, that really wrecked the entire supply chain around the world. But anyways, the Nike leadership, they straight up admitted their business is struggling. I think for the longest time, the sneakerhead culture, it gravitated and it revolved around Jordans. Well, Jordans and the sales thereof struggling. Not only that, the Converse Chucks, did you know that belongs to Nike? Most people don't know that. They're also losing love from the customers. And this is the biggest dagger for me. This is why I think the earnings wasn't so good. The Chinese audience, because for the longest time, for Nike, the Chinese audience, that was their growth pillar. They're buying other brands instead of Nike. And from my understanding, they're really in love right now with Merrell, Hoka Ones, and then of course that one hiking shoe brand, I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, everything and anything other than Nike. Because in 2010, 2015, even up to 2019, the Chinese, they loved Nike. Now they're just kind of eh. And they're not the only ones. Even the sneakerhead culture here in the US, even they're falling out of love with Nike. Now, you would think with all of that, all the doom and gloom, I wouldn't be interested, but that's not the case. I'm actually interested, and I'm actually eyeballing to open a position at $20 a share. And I know hearing 20, you're going to be like, that's never going to happen. But then again, when they were $185 a share, nobody thought they were going to hit 120, let alone 80, let alone 40. Me, based on the technical analysis that I'm seeing, I think 25 is a real reality. And if they hit 20, I think I'm going to have to jump in. Having said that, I do think Nike has a very rough 6 months ahead of them, but I think long term, they're going to bounce back. Now, why do I say that? Well, if I pull up VF Corporation, ticker symbol VFC, this is the parent company of the North Face, Supreme, and I forgot what the other brands they have under their umbrella, Timberland, and Vans, JanSport. Just take a look at their stock price action. They also experienced the same stuff as Nike, where at one point Supreme, it's like a very bougie streetwear brand. It was all the rage, and now nobody cares about them. The thing about clothing, shoes, and retail brands like that, there is absolutely no economic moat. So even with VF experiencing the same thing as Nike, I mean, just take a look at their 1 year price performance, 33% in the green, despite all of that doom and gloom, right? And then another clothing retailer we could talk about right here is Ralph Lauren. When I was in high school in 2005, 2006, 2007, everybody wanted to wear Ralph Lauren polos. And then in the next 10 years, from my understanding, like 2011 to 2020, it fell out of favor. Nobody cared about Ralph Lauren. Come to find out, in the past like 2 or 3 years, it's a trend again. Now everybody wants to wear it. Now Ralph Lauren, 46% in the green in the past 365 days. Whereas, oh my gosh, past 5 years, 237% in the green. So clothing companies, shoemakers, they go on a very, I won't say predictable, because you never know when the consumers decide this is the moment where Nike is cool again. And that's when their numbers start getting inflated, and that's when their stock price follows suit. So for me, watching Nike fall like that, for other people, they're going to be like, this is disgusting, I'm staying away. And for me, I'm seeing an opportunity. I'm like, wait, hold on. Because even Ralph Lauren went through the exact same fiasco where they were undesirable by the consumers, and now they're back into fashion, which is crazy. And another one is, and this is not the result of a short squeeze like Wendy's burgers. Their company stock is soaring right now because of a short squeeze. Another one is Victoria's Secret. Take a look at the past 1 year, 300% into the green. Whereas like in 2019, 2020, as you can see by their stock price, they were crashing really hard up until 2026, because now Victoria's Secret is hot again. Not with men, but with the female demographic. So trend rotations happen, and I think Nike, they do have some more room to fall, but I don't think this is the beginning of the end for them. I don't think Nike's going to just disappear, because clothing brands, they go through these cycles. Nike's in the ugly Betty category, but for me, if you're buying them up, I can't blame you. Now, I personally won't join you at 40 a share. Once they reach 25 or 20 a share, then we're talking, and yeah. And changing gears a bit, prior to leaving Japan, two of my favorite utility operations, the companies that provide power so that you can turn on your lights, but more importantly, power to the data centers that are being built up near them or in their territorial region. The utilities, right? They basically have a legal monopoly. When you move into a home, unless you want to live off grid or buy solar panels from Tesla, you don't really have a choice to shop around. You literally get one choice of a utility service provider, whether it's like the Southern Company, Duke, Dominion. And personally, as a business guy, as an investor, I love that. The fact that they have a regulated monopoly, it's amazing. But anyways, two of my favorite utility players, they laid out a game plan to become one company under Next Era Energy, and that's going to be Dominion Energy. They primarily operate in Virginia and North Carolina. And if you know anything about what's happening in Virginia, a lot of the hyperscalers, they're just building out a crap ton of data centers. And I think that makes sense as to why Next Era wants to swallow them up. Now, obviously, they're becoming one company, but what I see, my takeaway is because they're all going to operate under the Next Era umbrella, I see it as them buying them out, even though they're merging. Now, if you take a look at Next Era Energy, ticker symbol NEE, they went through a massive sell-off back in late 2023, 2024. I almost pulled the trigger and I didn't buy into it. I should have bought into it. I should have done it because I truly love utilities. And I think they reached the low of like, what was it? Going off of a guess, I want to say like high 30s, maybe like $40 a share. And now it's $88 a share. And so practically 100 and something percent return in 2 years. Now, if you take a look at their performance year to date, 10%, past 1 year, 20%. Not too bad for a utility, right? We go on over to ticker symbol D for Dominion Energy. I think their stock price is probably going up higher because of the buyout, whereas Next Era is probably being punished. I mean, it's the exact same thing, right, to what happened to Netflix when they were playing around back in the summer. Was it the summer or the fall when they were contemplating buying out Paramount, and their stock price got absolutely crushed? But once they said, okay, we're walking away, we'll let Warner Bros. Buy them out, their stock price went to the moon. But now Netflix is selling off once again. But I digress. Taking a look at Dominion Energy, year to date, 19%, past 1 year, 20.9%. I guess similar performance to Next Era. But anyways, under the terms of the agreement, Dominion Energy shareholders will receive 0.81 shares of Next Era Energy for each share of Dominion Energy that you own. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Another utility merger that just happened not too long ago. American Water Works, ticker symbol AWK. They're the country's biggest water service provider. So when you drop a dookie in the toilet and you want to flush it, you got to pay your water bills. More likely than not, it's American Water Works. Okay, they bought out another utility. I want to say it was ticker symbol WRG off the top of my head. They're delisted now because they bought them out. And they did electric utility plus water. And it was, what was their name? Essential Utilities. So mergers happen in the utility space. Likewise, in the financial space, a lot of the regional banks get swallowed up by other regional banks. But all that to say, water utilities plus power utilities, 2026, I mean, what crazy catalyst the boring utility stocks have experienced, right? Like, no one expected them to have such a growth catalyst. Because usually people treat utility stocks as a proxy for a bond because of the dividend, like 3.8% dividend yield, sustainable, because you know everyone's going to be paying their bills for the most part, unless you want to be defaulting on your mortgage and your utility bills. But I feel like that's less than 1% of the population. So most people pay their bills on time every month. So utility, very boring, predictable, and it's where people use as a proxy for a bond. But now they're in that defensive growth category, just like the trash management companies, which if you're a friend of the channel, then you know I'm absolutely bullish about Waste Management, Republic Services, and Waste Connections. Probably one of my more favorite category of stocks. And then moving on, let's talk about Meta. Let me just pull them up on the screen. Meta is currently $5.82 a share at the time of making this video. Year to date, negative 11.6%. Past 1 year, negative 19%. Forgive me for rounding up. That's piss poor. There's no other way to manipulate or spin it. That's pretty atrocious. Taking a look at their trading multiple at 21.2. But Meta is a growth company, and once you eliminate the one-time tax benefits or manipulation of the P&L, based on next year's EPS, their forward PE ratio is a 17.7. That's more palatable. For Max 7 to be trading at a 17.7 forward PE, that's crazy. Now, prior to this video, I uploaded it, I think about a week ago. I said I'm buying the AI sell-off. And in that video, long story short, I said the hyperscalers that are getting sold off, and I'm thinking that it's an opportunity because I'm currently doubling down, and I said Microsoft. Now, even though I'm not invested in Meta, the parent company of Instagram and WhatsApp, between you and me, I think they're a great deal right now. Now, the crazy thing about Meta, let me show you what happened in the past 5 days, okay? You'll see a pretty outrageous stock price movement. I guess we could say they started out the week at like $5.40 a share, and then they reached $6.35, and now they're back down to $5.82. Now, on Wednesday, Meta jumped, I want to say it was like 9 or 10%, after Bloomberg reported that Meta, they're currently building out a cloud business where it can sell its excess AI computing power to other customers instead of just using it all internally and eating the cost, because that was their game plan. And Wall Street, dude, they hate it. That's the reason why they're selling off, if you don't get it. It's because they're spending billions of dollars on data centers that require very expensive GPUs from NVIDIA, Broadcom, Marvell, but also from SanDisk and Micron, the SSD and the RAM. They're spending billions of dollars to build it out, but they're also paying out contractors to build up the freaking data centers itself, right? And the HVAC. There's a lot of money that goes into building out a data center. And the reason why they're making a small little pivot, actually, that's not even small. That's a huge transformation. Instead of just using it all for WhatsApp or for the metaverse or whatever stupid idea that Zuckerberg has, instead, they're like, okay, why don't we start renting out our data centers to other people? Because come to find out, this is the fear that everyone had, right? The ROI, the return on investment for their CapEx, it's not adding up. And now that they said they're going to start renting it out to other people, the market ate it up. They loved it. The stock went up 10%. But on Thursday, as you can see, they crashed again because Zuckerberg, he said that the progress on Meta's AI agents, it's been slower than expected. I don't know why he went on record to say that. Maybe you should have waited until the next earnings, or I don't know when their next earnings will be, but give it another 5 or 7 weeks, maybe it would have fixed itself, right? Like, why go on public record to say something like that and crash the stock price? I think it's kind of funny, unless he's saying it right now to be fully transparent, like, dude, we are screwed. And that's why the market sold off on Meta again. Now, between you and me, I'm really bullish because not every company, when you think about like the startups or the ones that are strapped for cash, not every company has billions of dollars on their balance sheet like Meta. Let me see, how much cash do they have? They have $81.2 billion of cash. Okay, not every tech company, not every SaaS company, not every fintech company has that kind of resources in the reserves, but Meta does. And not every company wants to spend the little cash that they do have building out data centers or messing around with paying the NVIDIA GPU tax. So when you think about it, they're just going to buy that cloud space from Meta. Now, that's in practice. However, when you think about the reality of the cloud landscape, I would rank Meta last, because this is a last-minute pivot that they're doing, while at the same time, AWS by Amazon or Google Cloud or Microsoft's Azure, they already have a huge head start and well-established relationships. Because once your entire company puts their server, your data, all of your documents on a cloud by Microsoft or with AWS, you're not going to migrate, right? So I think with Meta, to be honest with you, I think if they partner with marketplace sellers or local businesses, I feel like that can be their traction and runway for growth. But when we talk about enterprise customers, I just don't see it playing out unless, of course, OpenAI and Anthropic need additional cloud space. Then I guess Meta can be like the next Oracle, because that's what Oracle has been doing, right? They've been pivoting their software, tier 2 software business, by the way, into becoming a data center cloud provider for OpenAI, almost exclusively. I think it's like $500 billion off the top of my head, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And they also have a pretty big stake in TikTok. I like Oracle, but when we talk about their financials and fundamentals, Oracle is absolutely dog crap. Because the Max 7, like Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, they all have phenomenal financials, phenomenal fundamentals. But with Oracle, even though I love their business model, their future, the numbers for me, it does not add up. Let me show you what I mean. Their balance sheet, they have $31.8 billion of cash, which is pretty darn good, and an increase of 184% year over year. And if you take a look at their total debt, $156 billion of debt. They're highly leveraged, and that's not an exaggeration. The amount of debt that they have is absolutely concerning because, sorry for swiping so freaking much. If you look at, I don't know, before they decided to go gung-ho on the data center endeavors, their total debt was $93 billion and then $104 billion, and then bam, $156. And it's gonna go higher and higher. So with Oracle, the risk is that they're highly leveraged. But I think their game plan is coherent, and I like it. Me personally, I would buy Oracle, but unlike Meta, I would need a far bigger buffer and a margin of safety. So with like Meta, I'm holding out, right? I'll give you guys a freebie. I think, because usually I say the price points for the Patreon, but for Meta, for me, it's $525 and under, I'm going in. Because I have their inherent worth at about $800 to $850 a share. Now, obviously, I could just buy Meta right now because the upside's $850 is still significant, but the whole thing is I love to buy really good businesses and operations at a really good price. The two things have to add up. Some people, they buy a really good business at a bad price, and that can end up being a bad investment in the short term because there's a lot of fluctuations and volatility in the stock market in the day-to-day, right? You buy Meta at $650 a share and you see them drop into $540, your stomach's going to be turning a little bit, right? But if you try to time it and you buy them while they're at their bottom, where they have their line of support, and they drop to like maybe $4.99 worst case scenario, it's not the worst thing. But if your cost basis is $650 or $700 a share, there's a huge difference between the two, right? With Oracle, I'll give you another freebie. I think my price, the limit orders that I had for them, I think it's $115. No, if they hit $115, I'm obviously going to be an Oracle shareholder. Now, they are dropping like it's hot, and they're dropping. So if they hit $115, I hope they do. That would give me exposure to TikTok. Because TikTok, to me, is not just social media. What I'm seeing is the demographic, especially the Americans under the age of 27, 28, 29, they're using TikTok so much, and they're doing a lot of their online shopping on TikTok instead of Amazon now. Because a lot of these random ass TikTok influencers will have TikTok shops in their bio. So TikTok right now is becoming a platform for advertisements, but also an online e-commerce infrastructure. So when I think about their landscape and how much data that they have on people, dude, I get so bullish. Now, obviously, you can't invest in TikTok, but you can invest in the company that does have ownership stakes in TikTok. And that for me is Oracle. But anyways, why am I bullish on Meta? If I go back to their P&L, fact of the matter is, right now, it's broken down on an annualized basis. Their top line, I'm looking at the revenue right there. Why is it called the top line? Because it's literally the first line in the P&L, the profit and loss. So their gross sales, like how much money did they make? It's $214 billion over the past 12 months. That's absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, by the way, Meta, they're also in the business of selling tech accessories like glasses that you can wear that film stuff, VR headsets and whatnot. But if you break it down on a quarterly basis, only for 3 months, their gross sales increased 33% year over year. So this is a giant company where if I show you their market capitalization, $1.4 trillion, and still their revenue is growing by 33% year over year. And when I think about Facebook Marketplace, the online platform where you can sell your used pair, dude, that drives me up a wall. So I did a lot of shopping for the Minivan, but also the MacBook. Dude, you have some like weird people selling shoes that are falling apart for maybe 10% off MSRP. I'm like, are you crazy right now? Like, they'll post up a pair of Sauconys or Brooks or New Balance. They obviously ran 500 miles in it and it's falling apart, or they used it as their lawn mowing grass shoes for the past 10 years. I'll be like, hey, it's gently used, $150 or best offer. I'm like, are you out of your mind right now? So I do wish there was a more of a filter to not allow the crazies to post stuff like that, because it clogs up the system and it's cluttered. But I don't know. I kind of like it because I think that's one of the appeals behind people investing into Reddit, because everything is anonymous. But for me, I don't like that. I like to know that there's accountability tied to a name. Now with Facebook Marketplace, you can't really hide behind a random ass username like Purple Nipples or Stinky Butthole. Like, it's literally your first and last name, your photo. So if you try to scam someone, there's accountability, right? So for someone like me, I'm not saying that I have trust issues, but I would much prefer to see authenticity, but also transparency. Like, I like that. I don't like when people hide behind usernames or fake usernames. And so I like Facebook Marketplace. And when you think about it, it's eating away at eBay's little economic moat. Because I think a lot of the resellers, that drives me up a wall as well. People that go into thrift stores that are designed to help out people that are less fortunate to buy a pair of shoes for back to school shopping. Instead, a reseller goes in there, snags it, and then puts it on eBay, marks it up. But anyways, Facebook Marketplace, that's where the resellers are gravitating towards, because they don't have to pay the ridiculous fees that eBay is, implementing. Because eBay's fees are going up again and again. And I've been seeing the grievances aired on social media. And when you look at the comment section, nobody cares. Nobody cares because they're like, you're a reseller. So I guess that's not an unpopular opinion. A lot of people don't like resellers. Because, okay, whatever. Let's change the topic. And then let's see. In the last Compounder's Corner, I feel like it was the end of May, maybe the beginning of June, we talked about Angel Studios, ticker symbol ANGX. Now, if you don't know who they are, it's a very small media production company that had a lot of scandals in the past like 2 or 3 years. But you can go down that rabbit hole if you want. They make Christian content. Now, this is the company that's responsible behind the hit show, The Chosen. It's kind of like a play-by-play the Gospels. It's pretty interesting. Now, remember, the last Compounders episode was about 35 days ago. Take a look at what has happened if I click on the 1 month button. Angel Studios is up 26.8%. Now, obviously, this is a penny stock, and I did have some hesitation, especially with food poisoning and my dog dying, but now he's okay, by the way. He's running around, he's healthy. I regret not picking up some shares because I was monitoring them day over day, and I was so close to jumping in because I feel really bullish. Because if you take a look at their numbers, they're not profitable, right? They're burning cash. But if you take a look at their revenue situation right now, oh gosh, why does it say negative 10%? But anyways, fiscal year 2023, $202 million. It dropped to $96 million. Okay, this is not as good as I thought. What is going on here? Maybe if we break it down on a quarterly basis. Okay, there you go. So it looks like December was a disaster. But ever since December, they've just been crushing, right? on a quarterly basis, year over year, then it's going up 270%, 400%, 400%. So in the past 9 months, they're crushing. But if you bake in their terrible December, that's why it was less than fiscal year 2023. But it looks like they're on path to crushing by making crowd-funded movies and series. I think I talked about it last month. I think they have the record for the most money raised for a crowd-funded media production ever in history. And their stakeholders are the people that pay for the production stuff. So the people get to literally vote on what they want to see next. So I think instead of like Netflix having to spray and pray, like making a docuseries or a movie that may or may not flop, with Angel Studios, they can almost guarantee that almost everything that they upload or produce will have a backing, but also guaranteed views. So when you think about it, it's a very interesting business model. And between you and me, even though it's a penny stock, I really do regret. Because think about it, if I picked up like 500 shares in the past 1 month, dude, up 26.8%. That's easy money, right? But as of right now, I'm a little scared to jump in because I do feel like there's going to be a little pullback for them because that rebound has been very aggressive. So if you did buy into them in April when they dropped to $2 a share, you're probably a very happy camper. But if you did buy them at their IPO, well, I guess they were a SPAC up until 2025. But dang, at one point did they jump up to $50 a share? No, 52-week range is $60 a share. If you bought them at $60 a share, I do feel for you because, man, to see them at $3.50 and me sounding bullish, you're probably very angry. But if you bought them at $2, maybe even at $2.50, probably a happy camper. So I'll keep Angel Studios on the back burner on my watch list, but I don't want to jump in right now. However, I'll give you another freebie because I missed you guys. Because I talk about this stuff on Patreon, like the specific price points and the ones that are specifically on my radar. Another opportunity, that's why I don't lose sleep. There's opportunities every single day, every single week, as long as you look in the right places. So even if I miss the boat with a particular ticker or particular business operation, I'm okay. Because on the watch list or on my radar, there's another one. There's always another business that gets mispriced by the market. There's always opportunities. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's going to be Boston Scientific, ticker symbol BSX. Now, if you take a look at their situation, it is a mess, okay? Negative 57%. I would say that looks identical to the stock price pattern for Lululemon, almost identical. Okay, no, 51.2% in the red for Lululemon. But Boston Scientific Corporation, it's a medical tech and medical device company that essentially, I think one of their best-selling equipment is like an artificial heart valve or whatever. And they said that, hey, we're running into a little bit of headwinds right now. And I think it's a direct ramification of Ozempic, the weight loss drugs. Less fat people means less heart issues, means less people needing fake heart accessories. But on the other side of that spectrum, something that I understand is heart issues is not just caused by being fat or sedentary or chronic illness. It's also caused by hereditary and genetics, right? And one thing that we're seeing is people are living longer and longer. And as you get above the age of like 80, things start failing, right? Even when you take a piss, not only do you have to shake it once, you got to shake it quite a few times. That way you don't have a little dribble in your panties. Likewise, your heart, it's not going to be as strong as it used to be. Meaning medical intervention, like getting a hip replacement or a knee replacement or getting heart accessories, it almost becomes not mandatory, but crucial for an 80-year-old to see 90 or 92. So for me, I'm not looking at it from a fatties angle. I'm looking at it more from a longevity, right? As lifespans get increased, medical devices become more important. But in the short term, obviously, the reason why they're selling off, I feel like this is really important. The organic revenue growth, they decreased it. Initially, it was 10 to 11%, and now they're saying, hey, maybe 6.5 to 8%. You take a look at their P&L, it's been a beautiful situation. Their gross sales, except during the pandemic when a lot of people could not have elective surgery because of COVID-19, right? Hospitals were swamped, but then they rebounded 20% the following year. And it's just been a pretty steady growth story. Can I click on this? Yes, you can. As you can see, pretty predictable, pretty good. And I feel like the sell-off has been a little too harsh. So me personally, I feel like this is my next Angel Studios opportunity. I am eyeballing the crap out of them and I'm monitoring them on a day-to-day basis because I do think they're not done falling. Okay? You might think at 45 it's a great entry point. I don't think so. I think they have the possibility to hit 39 and 38. I do think 37 a share, that's when my left eyebrow is going to be raised. 36, sign me up, I'm going in. So Boston Scientific Corporation, for me though, there's a tier system, right? In the Dividend Compounders with Cheese public portfolio series, you guys know that I opened a position in Abbott. That's my number 1. My number 2 is Medtronic. Boston Scientific would be my number 3. And if I had to grade them, I would say Abbott is in the A tier. Medtronic maybe like B+. And Boston Scientific a solid B. So it's still a good company, just not my favorite. But when the price is this juicy, $45, forward trading multiple at a 13, when historically it's at like a 28, 27, yeah, I think the market's mispricing them. So yeah, that was a lot. And I guess before I get out of here, thanks to y'all's advice, I didn't even think about that, right? But I read the comments and you guys suggested that I do this, and I did it. I shipped my studio equipment ahead of time from Japan, and I thought it would get here by now, but it didn't. It's stuck in customs because the box had a crap ton of electronics, like my microphone, my monitor, and everything, so I guess they're examining it. So whenever that arrives, I should get back to uploading normal videos again. I mean, obviously right now I'm not on the screen because I don't have anything. I don't have a tripod, I have nothing. I literally just have my MacBook, and I'm recording this audio on my iPhone, the internal microphone. So I guess we'll see how the sound quality is, but I'm doing this on a bare bones production, and I think it's kind of funny. And I'm not even in my usual setup, right? I'm in an Airbnb. So your support right now means everything. And other than that, we just filed our taxes the other day because we had an extension because baby girl was born and we were waiting on her Social Security. If you have not filed for it already, don't forget to fill out a 530 Alpha tax form, otherwise known as a Trump account. Like if your kid was born in 2025, 2026, you get $1,000. Okay, so if you've got kids, that's something that would behoove of you, like, put aside politics for a second. That's $1,000, okay? After doing some research, though, I mean, I can go into a deeper dive to this, but I'll just say it right now. I don't think it's the best investment vehicle for your kids. Hands down, I still think the 529 is the best. Obviously, it's designed for educational or vocational purposes, but you can also roll it over to a Roth IRA, I think like $25,000, $30,000. And then number 2 would be the UTMI. That would be my second pick. But with the 530 Alpha, the reason why I don't like it on a high level, you're contributing taxed money into it, and then the money is going to be taxed when it's withdrawal. When you withdraw the funds, it's going to be taxing it. So it's double taxed. So for me, it kind of sucks. So I don't see the value add of putting money into this one. I think it makes more sense to put money into the 529 or the UTMI. Or UTMA, my bad. But having said all of that, I love you guys. Stay safe. Good luck in the stock market. And I'll talk to you guys really soon.